We all know something big is coming. Some big monetary shakeup is about to happen. I feel we are literally on the brink of it. And if you've been following this information for any length of time, you'll see that the writing is all but on the wall. Not only do we have the BIS, the IMF, central bankers all talking about two things. One, how can we go below zero bound, or aka negative interest rates? And two, how can we create a level playing field for all countries? Right now, the US dollar is dominant, so therefore the US is dominant. How can we shift that as the, kind of global landscape rises? How can we shift that into a truly one world currency that can handle all countries? So everything, like I said, is fair. Now, there's a lot going on here and there's a lot to cover. I'm going to cover mostly video, but what I wanted to share with you is just a couple of the headlines that I was digging up today. China's new digital currency could encourage worldwide use of the yuan, says CEO. Now, this is just on the 12th. Now, we all know that the People's Bank of China, PBOC, last month said it was close to launching its own digital yuan, arguing that the rationale behind the move is to protect its foreign exchange sovereignty. That is a big topic of this conversation, is to protect exchange rates and exchange sovereignty, especially against the US dollar. This becomes a mechanism by which the yuan can be used in everyday transactions all around the world. So there was rumors that this was going to launch in November. That is untrue. Okay, that is not going to happen. This piece, they're talking about and comparing the PBOC's digital currency to Libra. Libra is a project by Facebook, another big player in this game. Why is the central bank still doing such a digital currency today when electronic payment methods are so developed? It is to protect our monetary sovereignty and legal currency status. We need a plan ahead for a rainy day. And that really seems to be the conversation around this. Now, the reason why I think there was this talk of it getting launched in November is because we have Libra's coin or project getting launched in Q2 of 2020. So maybe trying to get out ahead. I think if they're ready to go and it's all done, then they should go ahead and launch it. Now, let's rewind to earlier this year. The general manager of the BIS, I can never pronounce his name, I don't really care. He said many central banks are working on it, meaning digital currencies, a central bank digital currency, or CBDC. And it might be that it is sooner than we think that there is a market and we need to be able to provide central bank digital currencies. There needs to be evidence for demand, and it's not clear that the demand is there yet. Perhaps people can do what they want by using electronic wallets provided by banks or fintech companies. It depends on development of payment systems, he said. Okay, next piece. Let's look at now. Libra has announced what they're going to do with their with the currency basket behind Libra. Okay, so now there hasn't been any official, ruling or word if Libra itself is going to be a security. I believe that the CFTC is still looking at this point. But here's what we now know. Just released the other day. While it's already known that 50% of the basket will be the US dollar, the rest breaks down like this. Okay, there will be the euro, the yen, the British pound, and the Singapore dollar, broken down 18% euro, 14% yen, 11% British pound, and 7% Singapore dollar. Pretty interesting, and it kind of makes and begs the question, why was the Chinese yuan not included? Is it because they already knew before they even launched this project, before they even started this, that PBOC was launching their own and that China would kind of take the reins themselves? I mean, Facebook has worked specifically with China's government, so they have to know at least a little bit of what's going on there. I don't know if this was they got together as buddies and talked about this beforehand. I don't know. But I do think that's interesting. And what I think is more interesting is the Libra project has been talked about in the breadth of central bankers. Now, you're about to see those clips in just a minute, but why wouldn't they just go with the SDR? The SDR is created in 1969. Special drawing rights is a basket of currencies. So why wouldn't they just use that? I mean, it's primed for the pump. It's in your newspaper every Sunday. Everyone's already familiar with it. I don't really know what's going on there. And this has the US dollar, the euro, Chinese yuan, Japanese yuan, and pound sterling. Could it just be that the pegging and what's behind it in the basket wasn't correct? And I would think you could just change that. And then, of course, other cryptocurrencies. I think the most popular choice to pick to talk about would be Ripple. Ripple's got, I mean, there's a million pieces of news, it seems like, every single week. Now, that's not leading to price action changes in Ripple just yet, but I think it's fascinating that so much is happening every single week, every single day with Ripple. So it's another competitor, another player on the chessboard to talk about. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into these videos now.
As far as the currency devaluations, I've been complaining about that for a long time. And I believe that we will all eventually, and probably very much sooner than a lot of people understand or think, we will be all at a level playing field. Because that's the only way it's fair. That's the only way that you can fairly compete in trade and other things. And we will be on that field, and we will all be working very hard to do great for our country. But it has to be fair.
Well, first of all, it's not a retaliatory tax, okay? It is an idea that he's looking at calling a reciprocal tax, which is basically saying we want to create a level playing field so that other countries treat us the way we're treating them.
Hope Sarah's sitting down because he is calling for the creation of a new virtual currency that could ease the reliance of the world on the U.S. dollar, which he says creates some of the problems that we have today. I can explain more of that in a second. He also says the UK outlook, hinges critically on Brexit. Sarah, he is pointing out that, for example, half of all international trade is priced in dollars, but the U.S. that's 5 times greater than the U.S. contribution to world output, along with 2/3 of world securities priced in dollars. And he says the problem there is that U.S. interest rate policy, U.S. exchange rate policy becomes exported to other parts of the world, and he says that is not the optimal way to run things. I think he acknowledges a long way off. You know, Sarah, this is not the first time this idea has been talked about or floated. There's the special drawing rights from the IMF.
One of the main topics up there was cryptocurrencies and all sorts of companies now getting into this effort, not least among them Facebook. What kind of threat does this pose to the traditional banking system?
Well, I think it's, you have incumbents, the banks, commercial banks, and you have the disruptors. And clearly the disruptors are having an impact on the incumbents. We just heard a very large systemic bank here saying that they're launching their digital coin, currently piloted in a way within the institutional clients, but to be scaled beyond that. We heard from the European Central Bank that they have launched in November something that is called TIPS, that enables all the banks in the Eurozone to actually transfer instantly at virtually no cost money between them. So I think the role of the disruptors and anything that is using distributed ledger technology, whether you call it crypto assets, currencies or whatever, and it's far from the bitcoins that we used to talk about a year ago, that is clearly shaking the system.
You dropped a bombshell in the luncheon there. That's the way I was described. It's almost like a mic drop. You are exiting this job, almost like a mic drop, and you said we need to go to a global virtual currency. It's a 23-page speech. It's very heavy. Give us the thumbnail. Why can't
just read the, I want to know, did you just read the conclusion of the speech, Steve?
No, I read 14 pages,
okay,
and then I jumped to the
okay.
conclusion.
So what's the point?
Give us the thumbnail. Why can't the dollar be the global currency?
Okay, the dollar is the global currency, we know that. The challenge is that the U.S. share of the global economy has been reducing. The dollar's share of payments, not just financial assets, but payments, a lot of payments between countries that have nothing to do with the U.S. are in dollars. And what happens in situations like we're in today, where the U.S. economy, to its credit, is relatively strong, is doing better, and the Fed has been doing the right thing, which is, they've adjusted policy, they tightened policy as it was strengthening. Now they're making, the Fed is doing the right thing, but they have adjusted and policy is relatively strong. That means rest of world policy is tighter than it needs to be, and that feeds back on the U.S. economy in a way that ultimately slows this economy. And it leads to a substandard outcome. And in a world where you only have limited policy space, it's a dangerous place to be. The issue is you don't just jump to something new overnight. And what we want in a multipolar world, I think we'd agree that we've got European engine, we've got the Chinese engine, we've got the US engine of this economy. Multipolar world, you need a multipolar currency. The question is, how do you get there? And I laid out some ideas of how you would get there.
And the bottom
it is
line,
more
Governor,
possible.
is that all of the pressure on the difference in growth around the world would not fall on the dollar exchange rate.
Yeah.
It would be spread out if it was a global basket of currencies. Is what
It
you're
would
saying.
be spread out as global basket of currencies. It's better for the system as a whole. It's better. It raises that equilibrium level of interest rates.
Right.
It gives central banks more policy, but it gives people who are watching greater returns on their savings.
Okay, so there you have it. I'm going to leave you with one question and one question only. What do you think is going to be this new global currency? Do you think it's going to be just one? If so, which one? SDR, Libra, PBOC digital currency, Ripple, which one do you think? Down below. Or if you think it's going to be a combination of digital currencies, which ones do you think it'll be? Go ahead and comment down below, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. Be on the lookout, more videos dropping soon. Bye.